Well, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on when this finds you. Hope you're having a great day. Oh, excuse me. If you finished, hope you had a great day. And if you haven't started, hope you have a great day. Just want to talk for a brief moment, in light of a lot of the things going on. I'm not going to really get off into that. I'm just going to talk about some stuff that triggers thoughts in my mind because, when I hear people talk about issues and things like that, I'm really not thinking about that particular issue. I get just have thoughts going on in my head about other things, and I just want to give a refresher course today. Because the first time we heard "Let's Make America Great Again" was when Ronald Reagan was considered the Republican standard for Christianity, and now that same slogan is attributed to Donald Trump. So, you know, I have a few questions. Which part of American history are we making great again? Because American history is marked with nothing but atrocities against everyone except whites, and mostly it's against black people. You know, America has been great for whites and a few hand-picked Negroes who didn't mind placing their selfish desires and ambitions over uplifting the black race. So, which part has been great for Black America? You know, was it slavery? Was it Jim Crow? Was it redlining? Was it separate and unequal? I mean, was it, the period when we had the white fountains and the colored fountains? Was it the time when slavery ended and the government and the slave masters got together and created this program called convict leasing? Well, what about when they would participate in all of the lynchings? Over 4,000 people were lynched, because of this great country. What about when they turn the police dogs loose on black people, or when they open up the fire hydrants and used heavy duty fire hoses to spray water on black folks? Maybe it was during that time when you had the Central Park, was it the Central Park Nine, I believe? The young men, the young black men up in Central Park. Maybe it was the period when whites destroyed multiple black towns over many different years. I mean, we had the summer of the year 1919, they called Red Summer because so much blood was shed by white people attacking black towns. I mean, was that when America was great? Maybe it was when slaves were used on a stock exchange. Uh, maybe it was used. Maybe it was that time when slaves were used to build these Ivy League universities. Or maybe it was the time when slaves were used to build the White House. Or how about when LBJ said, "I'm going to have them niggas voting Democrat for 200 years"? Or maybe those great eras wasn't great enough. Maybe it was the sharecropping era. Or is it when blacks were blocked from participating in unions to protect their wages and working conditions? Uh, Maybe it was when blacks had to sit at the back of all public transportation. See, y'all hear about Rosa Parks, but y'all didn't hear about the other black ladies and the black female that sat at the front of the buses before Rosa Parks. And y'all didn't hear about them black porters that used to have to ride the back of the trains. They couldn't sit in the nice areas of the trains. Maybe it's when Jim Crow Joe Biden said he didn't want his kids growing up around black kids. Well, he didn't say black kids, he said poor kids, but you knew exactly what he was talking about when he said it, the way he said it, and who he was talking to. They don't play crazy. Maybe it was the medical experimentation on blacks, back during You know, the father of gynecology, his name escapes me right now, did all these medical experiments on black women without anesthesia. Or maybe it was when the medical establishment took the cells from Henrietta Lacks' body so they can study medical research. Or maybe it was the Tuskegee experiment. Take your pick. You know, which period was it? Or was it when Jesse Jackson said he wanted to cut Barack Obama's balls off? I mean, what is it? Maybe it was when Barack Obama said black people didn't deserve no reparations for slave descendants, and then he turned around before he left his second term and approved reparations for descendants of the Holocaust. The legislation was written by Joe Biden and then handed to Barack Obama, and Barack Obama signed. But he said y'all black people didn't deserve nothing. Well, maybe it was when the KKK was formed. You know, what about the execution of Malcolm X, MLK, Fred Hampton? Maybe it was when the system found out that Reginald Lewis was black and they blocked him from doing any more major business acquisitions. I mean, tell me, which period was great? How about when P.T. Barnum of the Ringling Brothers Barnum and Bailey Circus fame used Joyce Heath, black lady, enslaved black lady, and he used that as a selling point to create sales and told everybody she was George Washington's 161-year-old nurse. You know, how about in 1904 and 1906 when whites displayed people in human zoos, and even some of the clergy, you know, had a degree of decency. They protested, but even though certain members of the clergy protested, close to 40 million whites flocked to see what they called the missing link between blacks and monkeys. Now, it gets even better than that. In 1891 in Chicago, they actually had infants in human zoos. And I did a video years ago, human zoos and Dunkin' Boots, and hit the trigger. And amazingly, somebody took my video, reposted my video on this specific topic. Their video shows up in a search mode, but mine doesn't. And then YouTube said I stole my content, even though my video is much older, with my voice on this other channel's video. But I stole the content. That was just one of the things because they eventually told me they reviewed every video on my channel. And I mean, why would they dedicate so much time to me? I ain't nobody. But why would they dedicate so much time to investigate every video on my channel, then turn around and tell me I stole all my content? What about the times when white Christian pastors ended their church services early so their congregants could attend lynching parties that they actually packed picnic lunches for, and took the whole family out, and then took pictures and turned them into postcards and mailed them around the country to their friends? Or maybe the time this country was great is when they convicted an innocent black boy named George Stinney and sentenced him to death via the electric chair for a crime he didn't commit. At age 14, the boy was so small, so tiny, that they had to take phone books for him to sit on so they could electrocute him in the electric chair. And it took them, he did not commit the crime. It took them 70 years to exonerate this boy. Maybe we should revisit May 13, 1985, when the police dropped a bomb on the MOVE organization, which resulted in the death of 11 people inside, including 5 children. Is that when America was great? Based on what the parameters of what America classifies as a mass shooter today, wouldn't that make the police of that time a mass murderer? Or what about the incident at Kent State on May 4th, 1970? I bet you didn't learn that in a history class, did you? You know, my mentor is the one that told me about this issue. And then Dick Gregory did a nice talk about it some years back. But the National Guard at Kent State caused the deaths of 4 students and injured many others for protesting the Vietnam War. Now, in 1970, they fired 67 rounds in 13 seconds. I mean, can you imagine firing that much back then? Or maybe it was great when Muhammad Ali got arrested for refusing to fight in the Vietnam War because he said he had no issue with no Vietnamese. Was the period great when black soldiers went across the world to fight for what they believed was American freedom for all Americans, black and white, to come right back home and get spat upon by the same white people they went to fight for? Or did it get greater when those same black men couldn't even get jobs? Or when those same black men couldn't take advantage of the same home ownership opportunities as their white military counterparts? I mean, tell me, was America great when the Reagan administration dropped the cocaine in all these black neighborhoods around the country? Was America great when the Christian organization known as the KKK had over 4 million members that terrorized black men, women, and children, black neighborhoods, and black churches? Set those crosses in people's front yards, set those crosses in churches' front yards, and burned them? Tell me, which period was great? I mean, maybe we can just pick a decade and see how many innocent black men have spent decades in prison for crimes they didn't commit. Just like the man that Maurice Hastings, who was just released from prison after 38 years. Although Hastings was awarded $25 million over in California, he said no amount of money can make up for the 30 years of life that he lost. He was convicted for a woman's death that he had nothing to do with. All his prior appeals for DNA testing had been denied over the years. Maybe let's go back to the foundation of America, the Christian nation. Maybe it was the greatness that we should be talking about from then, with the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution and the founding fathers, the founding slave masters, the founding Freemasons. I mean, because America was founded as a Christian nation, it just wasn't founded as a biblical nation. But let's talk about 40-year-old Thomas Jefferson, who was forcing himself upon 14-year-old Sally Hemings daily. And as Shahid Boson said, the 13 colonies are the original Epstein Island. Now, just yesterday, September 29th, because I don't know what day I'm going to release this, September 29th, it was in remembrance of, somebody posted something in remembrance of Botham Jean. Botham Jean, where the white female police officer went inside the wrong apartment and shot him and executed him because she thought he was in her apartment. So are the stories of Botham Jean and Breonna Taylor reminiscent of the great old days of America? Y'all tell me. Have a good day.